Hello, and welcome to the Romancing in Paris podcast. I'm your host, Lily Heise of the blog Je t'aime me neither, and author of 3 books on Paris, 2 funny books on looking for romance in Paris, and my latest book, There's Only One Paris, Tales for Our Time, a collection of short stories set in post-pandemic Paris. It was love which brought me to Paris over 20 years ago. But not love of a person, but my love of the city itself. This amour de Paris, the love of Paris, eventually led me to write about the city, and in particular about romance, and the most romantic places in Paris. There are hundreds of these across the city, and I share some of my favorites on my website, and now I'll be sharing some of these with you. In this podcast, we'll be traveling around the city as I pick out my top romantic places per arrondissement. You don't have to visit these places as a couple. Visiting them can be the expression of your own love of Paris, like mine. Are you ready to get romancing? Our first episode takes us to the first arrondissement of Paris. This district runs from the Palais Royal area all the way to the Madeleine. The district is a funny one because it encompasses the Louvre, and that is sort of the center of the whole district, and the Tuileries Gardens. There are, of course, other amazing places in the district, like the Place Vendôme. The Royal area is up and coming, you could say. The district's south side runs along the Seine River and is now part of the Rive de Seine Park. For me, it is one of the most picturesque sections of the riverside. And from walking along the Seine here, you can see the Conciergerie, the Pont Neuf, the Pont des Arts, and even little glimpses of the Eiffel Tower. However, this is not my top romantic site of the district. In the center of this long district is a very special place. Something of a hidden place, or at least from the street. A place which is steeped in history. Not only does it have a romantic ambiance, its history has various romantic and somewhat racy links. It's the Jardin du Palais Royal. Step under its colonnade archway with me to discover its history and why it's so terribly romantic. The site's history actually goes back almost 400 years. The building at the south end of the complex was commissioned in the late 1620s as the home of the then Prime Minister Cardinal Richelieu. The site was chosen due to its proximity to the Louvre. On the north side of the building were beautiful gardens. At the Cardinal's death in 1642, the property was passed down to the royal family, which gave the palace its new name, Palais Royal. When the king at the time, Louis XIII, died the following year in 1643, his widow, Queen Anne of Austria, decided to move in here with her 2 young children, the future Louis XIV and his brother, the Duke of Orleans. She didn't move in there alone with the boys, though. Cardinal Mazarin, Cardinal Richelieu's successor as the Prime Minister, also moved in. Why would that be? Well, you see, Mazarin and the Queen were very close, and it is suspected that they were also lovers. And there is some proof of this, actually, in the form of passionate letters they exchanged. But there is no conclusive evidence of this either. However, one could say that the love vibes of the area were planted then. The Queen and her children moved out in 1651 due to the troubles that were mounting from the aristocratic rebellion called La Fronde. And for almost half a century, the palace sat empty. But the next resident would make up for this. In 1692, Louis XIV arranged for his brother, the Duke of Orleans, to own the palace. The king, after all, was busy out at his much grander and newer palace of Versailles. When Louis XIV died in 1715, the Duke of Orleans became the regent until the next king, Louis XV, became of age. So, for a brief period of 8 years, the political and social hub of France shifted from Versailles to the Palais Royal. Politics during the day, and parties a go-go almost every night. The Duke was apparently very fond of masked balls, as during these he could go incognito. He was also known for his libertine ways, and thus there was a certain amount of naughtiness going on at the Palais Royal. When Louis XV took power, the life of the party returned to Versailles. That is, until the era of the Duke's great-grandson, the Duke of Chartres, who would become the Duke of Orleans when his father died, and later on even became the King of France after the restitution of the monarchy at the fall of Napoleon Bonaparte in 1814. However, before all the turbulent times of the Revolution, in the 1780s, the Duke of Chartres undertook a vast building project at the Palais Royal. He surrounded the gardens behind the main palace with a series of arcades and 3-story buildings. The ground floor spaces were rented out as boutiques and cafes. It became the in place in Paris, really the heart of the city at the end of the 18th century. Due to its popularity, the Duke of Orleans had an opera building built at the southwest corner. Still in existence today, it is now home to La Comédie Française. But that wasn't the only form of entertainment the complex had. In fact, a circus was added, and horse races went on in the center. In addition to these, there were also many gambling rooms and maisons closes, bordellos. In fact, it is thought that up to 2,000 prostitutes worked in and around the Palais Royal, and that this was even the place where Napoleon Bonaparte lost his virginity at age 18. Oh la la! Confiscated during the Revolution, the Palais Royal was returned to the Duke in 1814. However, during the Revolution of 1848, the palace was pillaged and heavily damaged, and it was once again confiscated by the state. The 1871 revolution of the Commune of Paris brought further trouble for the building. The Palais Royal was one of the many buildings set on fire by the communards. Thank goodness the fire was put out before it did too much damage. We'll be right back with Romancing in Paris after a word from our sponsors.
We've all seen the Eiffel Tower, queued at the Louvre, and picnicked on the steps of Sacré-Cœur. But a treasure hunt through the Marais, drag queen bingo in Belleville, graffiti art installations in abandoned warehouses in the 14th? Those are the unique Parisian experiences we don't want to let slip away. My name is Jennifer Garrity, and I'm the host of Don't Miss This. From art installations, to authors' talks, to tours, to culinary ateliers, and everything in between. Each week, Don't Miss This will fill you in on the best of what's going on in Paris. Don't Miss This airs every Sunday on Paris Underground Radio. If you think you've got something we should know about, please email us at hello@parisundergroundradio.com. Happy exploring!
While walking the streets of Paris, do curious details ever catch your eye? The city has a myriad of lieux cachés, or hidden places, and we uncover the most intriguing ones on the Paris Cachet podcast. If you're keen to explore Paris on a deeper level, then join Paris Cachet host Lily Heise and a cast of zany historical figures from queens to angry mobs as we traverse the city and the centuries on our quest to discover the surprising stories behind these lieux cachés. The Paris Cachet podcast is available every other Sunday on Paris Underground Radio. Visit parisundergroundradio.com/pariscachet to listen and subscribe. And now back to Romancing in Paris. Things started to calm down after that, and in the early part of the 20th century, the Palais Royal even had a few creative residents, including Jean Cocteau, who lived for many years at number 36 Rue de Montpensier, and the writer Colette, who lived at number 9 Rue de Beaujolais for a good part of her life, and therefore wrote a number of her books at this very site. In 1959, the front section of the complex was converted into the Ministry of Culture, which is how the Burin columns and the quirky fountains of mobile stainless steel spheres by Paul Bury were added in the 1980s. Despite these contemporary additions, the back garden is traditional and is an oasis of calm. It features lines of perfectly manicured linden trees, a European species of basswood, and gorgeous central gardens, which are planted with seasonal flowers and rose bushes. In late winter, the garden is ablaze in pink magnolia blossoms, so really, at any time of year, it is stunning. However, there are more reasons why this is such a romantic place. Like many Parisian parks, the Palais Royal has permanent benches, as well as movable metal garden chairs. But the ones here aren't like those in the other parks. Since 2016, the Palais Royal Gardens have been home to Les Confidents, double chairs which have snippets of poems on them and other sculpted objects. This is a work of public art by the French-Canadian sculptor Michel Goulet, and in collaboration with François Massot, the founder of the collective Poésie is Not Dead. The double chairs are absolutely perfect for couples, and add a fun element to a visit to the park. For a late morning or afternoon coffee, go to the Café Kitsune, the coffee shop branch of this hip lifestyle brand. You can get it to take away, or they also have a terrace overlooking the gardens. In the northwest corner, you can also find the stylish but relaxed Muscade restaurant, which also has a nice cafe overlooking the garden. In the other northern corner is the Palais Royal restaurant, which has 1 Michelin star. This is better for a classy lunch or romantic dinner. Lastly, on the north side is the Grand Véfour, which has been a restaurant, albeit with different names, since 1784, and therefore it is really the best place to relive the history of the Palais Royal. It has a gorgeous historic decor, and for many years it was a 2 Michelin star restaurant run by star chef Guy Martin. However, we're all in luck because Martin has decided to shift the concept of the restaurant and will be serving market-based cuisine at more reasonable prices, so that more people will be able to enjoy this stunning venue. A meal at one of these establishments is certainly the perfect way to cap off your romantic outing at the Palais Royal. If you would like to discover more romantic places in the First District, see my website, jetammeneither.com, which has a series of ultimate romantic guides to each district of Paris. This podcast was produced by Paris Underground Radio. Check out its website if you're interested in listening to more great podcasts on Paris. And until next time, thank you for listening and happy romancing in Paris.